Radio.
Alien satellite, the Black Knight, a 13,000-year-old alien satellite, tonight on Dark Matter Radio, with your host, Ronnie McLean. The Black Knight satellite. There's more going on in this world than you can ever know. Is it space junk? Alien? A satellite? The Black Knight, as it's called today, has been around for quite some time. You may have heard of it. You may have heard of rumors of it. It's been identified as an alien satellite, and even though there are images of this object and many skepticals about its purpose and its origin, was it here from the beginning? 13,000 years ago is what they're claiming. The discovery of the Black Knight satellite is perhaps one of the most infamous objects to orbit our planet. The artificial satellite has captured major media interest since the late 50s and has become one of the most talked about objects in space. First, they thought it was the Russians, a Russian spy satellite. Then they thought it was natural objects, meteors, orbiting our Earth. The Black Knight has gripped the interest of millions worldwide. And tonight, you're going to find out about the Black Knight satellite. There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? You're listening to Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie. So tonight we're going to talk about something that is extremely, extremely interesting, and you may not have heard about it before. So what is the Black Knight satellite, and where did it come from? Is it space junk on an alien satellite, as it's called today? Some has said it's been around for over 13,000 years. According to monitoring agencies around the world, the Black Knight satellite has been transmitting radio signals for over 50 years. The United States of America and the Soviet Union have shown particular interest in this unidentified space object. Since its discovery, the satellite has interest countries such as Sweden and enthusiasts worldwide. One of them is a hand radio operator who apparently had decoded a series of signals received from the UFO satellite and interpreted as a star chart centered in the Epsilon Booty star system, and that the Black Knight originated from this system more than 13,000 years ago. Now, the Epsilon Booty system is a double star in a northern constellation of booties. It has a traditional names as Izar and Parallaxremina. The star system can be viewed with the unaided eye at night. But resolving a pair with a small telescope is changing the aperture of 76 millimeters or 3 inches or greater is required. But according to many, the discovery was made much earlier than that was thought. And rumors was that Nikola Tesla was the first to intercept. Now, Tesla is interesting because what happens with Nikola Tesla is that he was also one of the ones that worked on the Manhattan Project. And if any of you remember what the Manhattan Project was, it was about a boat, a military boat, that they made disappear. They made it go into some sort of a fog, an electronic fog, and it disappeared. And apparently, it went forward into time to, I think, about the 1980s. So Tesla is no joke. He also rivaled Einstein at the time. Him being born, I believe, in the 1800s, in the 1890s. I believe his death was around the 1940s or so. But Nikola Tesla was the first man to intercept a signal from the otherworldly satellite in 1899 after building a high-voltage radio device in Colorado Springs. After Tesla's discovery in the next 30 to 50 years, the signal was being intercepted more frequently until it apparently was decoded. Now, I need to go back just a little bit, because with Tesla, when he first received the signal, he was doing experimentation on wireless energy, a worldwide system of wireless energy he was putting together. And what he was doing, he was gathering signals from the Earth, from the outer atmosphere of the Earth. And as he did this, he intercepted quite a few numbers of radio signals. Now, these radio signals, he first thought it was from Mars, and he gave a press conference, and he said that that Mars is full of life. After further discovery and after further looking into it, he was figuring out that the radio signals was bouncing off much closer than he thought, and that this object was, and the signal was intelligent, meaning that it couldn't come from couldn't come from a natural object, had to be artificial and man-made. He also determined that the object was in Earth's orbit, very close to the Earth. And this made headlines, but not the headlines that you may have thought that it would make at that particular time. So, since the 1930s, astronomers worldwide have been reporting strange radio signals, which was allegedly coming from the Black Knight. In 1957, Dr. Luis Carlos of the Communications Ministry of Venezuela photographed it while taking pictures of Sputnik 2 as it passed over Caracas. The strange thing was that, unlike the Sputnik 1 and 2, the Black Knight satellite orbited Earth from east to west over the poles. One of the two orbits west and east, using Earth's natural rotation and maintain orbit. The story of the Black Knight made its media debut in the 1940s when the St. Louis Dispatch and the San Diego Examiner wrote about the satellite on May 14, 1954. The Time magazine wrote about it on the 7th of March in 1960. Here is what they said about it. 3 weeks ago, headlines announced that the U.S. had detected a mysterious dark satellite wheeling overhead on a regular orbit. There was nervous speculation that it might be a surveillance satellite launched by the Russians, and it brought an uneasy sensation to the United States government. It did not know what was going on over its head. But last week, the Department of Defense proudly announced that the satellite had been identified. It was a space derelict, the remains of an Air Force Discovery satellite that had gone astray. You can read the complete story by visiting Time magazine's website. The article in 1954 named Artificial Satellites or Circling the Earth. Writer, one source says. Now, even way back then, they were giving out false stories. Wicked truth, as I call it. Truth mixed in with lies. So on August 23rd, 1954, the technology magazine Aviation Week and Space Technology released a story that angered the Pentagon, who were trying to keep the information secret. Now, this is the short article, and this is what it stated. Now, I want you to remember also that back here in the 40s and 50s, space wasn't actually, they were just starting to venture out into the lower orbits of the Earth. And so they didn't really have a good understanding as to what was going on at that particular time with space itself. And there was a lot of erroneous information that was beginning to come out in terms of space as well. So the short article says, Pentagon scared over the observance of two previous unobserved satellites orbiting the Earth has dissipated with the identification of the objects as natural. Another lie. Not artificial. Another lie. Satellites. Dr. Lincoln LaPaz, expert on extraterrestrial bodies, University of New Mexico, headed the identification process. One satellite is orbiting about 400 miles out, while the other track is about 600 miles from Earth. The Pentagon thought momentarily the Russians had beaten them, when I say them, the United States, to space explorations. The interest in the Black Knight was higher each year. In 1957, the unknown object was seen shadowing Sputnik 1 spacecraft, according to reports. The unidentified object was in polar orbit. At the time, the United States nor the Russians possessed the technology to maintain a spacecraft in polar orbit. Well, if there is such an orbit, that's why. According to our research, the first polar orbiting satellite was launched in 1960. Polar orbits are often used for Earth mapping, Earth observation, capturing the Earth at time passes from one point, and reconnaissance satellites. This would put the Black Knight in the category of an observation satellite. The only question here is, who placed the Black Knight in the polar orbit, and for what purpose? Very interesting. Some say that the Anunnaki placed it there. The gods that first came to the earth and seated their people and created the humans. The objects continue to amaze astronomers worldwide. In the 60s, the Black Knight was located once again in polar orbit. Astronomers and scientists calculated the object's weight to be over 10 tons, which would be, at that time, the heaviest artificial satellite to orbit our planet. The Black Knight's orbit was unlike any other object orbiting the Earth. It was, and it is, was moving twice as fast when compared to any other man-made spacecraft. Isn't that crazy? And again, you have to take a look and take a listen to what the military had to say, even back then, that they said that they had identified it to be a natural or a broken piece of satellite that they had up there, that they had sent up there a long time ago. That's interesting because when Tesla looked at it, he observed it or monitored it, signal, way back in 1899. There are also several reports that the German Aircraft Corporation gave much importance to this mystery satellite. On September 3rd, 1960, 7 months after the satellite was first detected by radar, a tracking camera of Grumman Aircraft Corporation on Long Island, that's where I'm from, factory took a photograph of the Black Knight. At that point, Well, before I go forward, that photograph of the Black Knight, which I don't have appearing here, is almost unintelligible to the non-seeing eye. It's a lot of points that they have up there that actually, it looks like, doesn't really look like anything. But they had somehow derived it out as that being the Black Light satellite. At that point, people all over the world started identifying the object in the sky, which could be seen as a red light moving at a higher speed compared to other satellites east and west orbits. The Grumman Aircraft Corporation formed a committee to study the data received from the observations made, but nothing was made public. Now, why would we think that was surprising? In 1963, a man by the name of Gordon Cooper had launched into a spaceship. On his final orbit, he reported seeing a glowing green object in front of the capsule in the distance moving towards the spacecraft. Much had talked about the Mucha tracking station in Australia, which Cooper reported the object to pick up this unidentified object on radar traveling east to west. NBC reported this. But after Cooper had returned to Earth, the reporters were not allowed to ask Cooper about the unidentified object. The official explanation given to Cooper sightings were high levels of carbon monoxide, and get this, which caused hallucinations. Isn't that interesting? So the Black Knight has been a topic of interest all around the world up until today. Most of the official information of the mysterious object is kept safe and away from society. No one has answered some of the most simple and logical questions to ask. Who placed that satellite in polar orbit? For what purpose? Is the Black Knight satellite an extraterrestrial satellite sent to Earth to study the human race? Or was it sent there, left up there by the Amen beings for the watchers to use to keep track of what's going on the Earth? Did the satellite attempt to communicate with the human race? Have we ignored the attempts of communications? One thing for sure, the Black Knight remains one of the most mysterious objects to orbit our planet. There is a connection between this infamous space object and ancient mankind's achievements. It's very interesting because a lot of this goes into a lot of conspiracy theories in terms of the government knows what the satellite is, and as a lot of people have reported, they had also decoded the transmissions from the satellite. So one of the things that I want to bring up to you now is that not only is there the Black Knight satellite up there, but it seems as though the Air Space Command, the Air Force, has a special plane called the X-37. So what is that doing up there? And it stays up in space anywhere from 3 to 2 years. So it was on a 5-year mission. Get that. Where do you hear that from? 5-year mission. And it's been 5 years since the first launch of the Air Force X-37B mini shuttle. The outside observers, meaning those who lack the proper security clearance, that's every one of us, who know little or nothing about the mysterious unnamed vehicle than they did in 2010 when it first went up. But after 3 complete flights and the 4th launch last May, the space plane was still in orbit as of mid-December, that they at least are able to make educated guesses as to what this spy space plane is doing up there. One of my guesses is that they're trying to track the Dark Knight, the Black Knight satellite. They're trying to find out exactly where it is, and they're trying to find out exactly how to track its orbit, and they're trying to find out everything that they can as they sent this specialized spaceship up there to track it, the X-37B. Now it's small. It's about 29 feet long, with a cargo bay not much bigger than pickup trucks. The project officials have released that the X-37B's maneuverable engine runs on a hydrogenized and nitrogen peroxide, and that it uses different kinds of thermal protection than NASA's space shuttle did. The durations of the first 3 missions are a matter of public record: 224 days, 469 days, and 674 days. And while the orbiting parameters aren't officially disclosed, amateur astronomers have been able to spot the mini space plane through telescopes and figure out it's been orbiting a relatively low altitude. And I'm figuring this plan is in conjunction with a report that came out not too long ago with them trying to shoot the Black Knight down, trying to stop it. And there are those out there that feel as though this Black Knight satellite is something that mankind needs to find out about. But there are those that feel that there are some people in the higher echelons of governance around the world want to keep this hidden from every single being on this earth. What is the truth that they might be hiding? So an alien satellite set up 12,000, 13,000 years ago, plus, because they really don't know, to spy on humans, said was shot down by the Illuminati, claiming some conspiracy theorists. Ancient alien spacecraft known by UFO hunters as the Black Knight satellite. It was blasted by a secret Illuminati warplane in a linked clip. These people claim. Footage posted by the UFO channel Secure Team 10 claims to show evidence of this fact. Well, I wouldn't say that this is a fact at all. And after further investigation of it, one of the reasons why I think that this story came out was to try to get people to not think about the Black Knight satellite at all. And if you're looking at the pictures, you can see that what the Black Knight satellite actually does look like, and the fireballs are the pictures of what they actually tried to shoot down. Now, again, there's a lot of different things going on up there in our orbit in space, not in deep space. And we'll have another show on that later on about what's going on in deep space. But in our orbital space, the space that they're able to travel in without having any difficulties, lots of stuff that are going on up there. And as you can see with some of the pictures that we have up, that the space shuttle itself has taken a lot of pictures of the satellite, of this Black Knight satellite. And so they have the pictures. They do say that it's unidentified. They do say that it's real. And it's a matter of documented fact. So they can't deny that it's up there. This is one of the reasons why I think they're sending the X-37 plane up there from the Air Force. And it stays up there for quite some time so that they will be able to figure out what's going on underneath all this stuff that's happening. So the Black Knight satellite, should it scare you? The Black Knight was an alien aircraft put in Earth orbit to monitor humanity. Has it really been orbiting Earth for over a period of 13,000 years? Was it really shot down? I don't believe so. I believe it's still up there. I believe that they can't track it because it's in a what they call polar or elliptical orbit that they can't track. I believe that it's moving too fast. It's very erratic, and they lose track of it from time to time for years. So it's very elusive. Has technology that we don't know about. And when they say that they have all these different sightings of green, blue ships, etc., not exactly sure if that's the Black Knight satellite, because they've been observing a lot of things off base orbit since the time that they've been traveling up there. So it's extremely important for us to have a really good understanding as to what's going on around us. And this is one of the reasons why we're talking about this, because a lot of our history has been hidden from us, and they don't want you to know who and what you are. They don't want you to know where you come from. They don't want you to know what purpose you actually really do serve on this earth. They don't want you to know why the Black Knight satellite is in orbit and why it's here looking out on humanity. Thank you for listening. This has been a Dark Matter presentation. We'll see you at the next show. This historical fact is brought to you by RMS Enterprises, where safety is the most important aspect of work. Black civilizations of ancient America. Mexico, Zai. The earliest people in Americas were people of the nomadic or Gramitic African race who entered the Americas perhaps as early as 100,000 years ago by way of the Bering Strait, and about 30,000 years ago in a worldwide maritime undertaking that included journeys from the then wet and lake-filled Sahara towards the Indian Ocean and the Pacific, and from West Africa across the Atlantic Ocean towards the Americas. According to Glenwyn thesis, this ancient journeys occurred particularly about 75,000 years ago, creating what you have today, the original indigenous people of America. This historical moment, in fact, was brought to you by RMS Enterprises. And the question that we have still remaining. We've been here for over 100,000 years. Has the Black Light satellite been up there even longer? There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? You're listening to Dark Matter Radio with your host, Ronnie. Conversation with your host, Ronnie McLean. Thank you for listening. Get on to Facebook and like, and look up Dark Matter Radio on Blog Talk Radio. Like and join. Thank you for your participation. Have a good evening.
Radio.